Hey guys, HackerSploit here, back again with another video. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a great Christmas, and I'm really looking forward to this new year. And again, we really have a lot of content planned out for this year, so do stay tuned for that. In this video, I'm going to be revisiting Parrot OS, and the reasons for that will be made apparent quite soon. But what I'm going to be doing here is, again, just taking you through my default setup and configuration whenever I utilize Parrot OS, right? And answering a few questions that I've been getting about Parrot OS. So again, if you're fanatic about Parrot OS, don't take any of the comments that I actually make in this video seriously. These are my own personal opinions, based on my own experience in pen testing and, of course, working with Linux for over 10 years at this point. So again, I don't want this video to come out, or I don't want to make myself come off as, ignorant or, making this into a rant about, Parrot OS or anything like that. This is just my honest opinion of Parrot OS. And in specific, I'm referring to the virtual images, for Parrot OS. I know there is an ISO installer or an ISO image available that, again, will pretty much fix most of these issues that I currently experience. Now, I'll just give you a bit of a history as to, my own personal experience with Parrot OS and why I stopped using it. So first things first, I stopped using Parrot OS for content production, for YouTube and my courses in 2021, I think maybe around February or March, sometime around there. And, I switched over to Kali, and my experience with Kali has been flawless over that entire period of time. I wrote a book, and most of the techniques and demonstrations highlighted in that book were done on the same Kali Linux VM. So I've used the same VM image and VM disk for over a year at this point without any issues. I've had no errors or anything like that. I've customized the hell out of it. I've installed a custom kernel. I've done, really crazy things on it. And I have to say, first and foremost, that this is not a comparison between Kali and Parrot OS. But where I will be drawing comparisons is in regards to its functionality as a penetration testing distribution. And that's something that's very, very important. A penetration testing distribution, just like a video production distribution, is tailor-made software, which means that it's designed to do really one thing. And in the case of Parrot OS, Kali Linux, and Black Arch, maybe, they're made or developed to, essentially aid penetration testers, or are made for penetration testers, right? And so the criteria for my judgment or comparison will really fall into that category there. Can it, can it be used to perform a penetration test without any issues? Is it reliable? Am I going to wake up one morning and Parrot OS is having issues? Stuff like that. Now, as I said, there is a big difference between using the virtual image and installing the ISO yourself. And I've installed Parrot OS on multiple laptops of mine, especially for engagements, and I've had no issues with them. My only real issue as to why I actually switched to Kali Linux really came down to the actual repositories and the packages available within the Parrot OS repositories, and the fact that I had a lot of issues that, I wasn't able to get fixed, and it really started to become annoying. So I had to just switch over my files to a Kali VM and just continue on from there, right? Now, again, this is a fresh VM here. I just downloaded the image a few minutes ago. This is Parrot OS version 4.11.3, and I haven't customized anything. As I said, this is the VirtualBox image, and it automatically logs you in, which is one thing that I don't like, but that can easily be fixed. So again, I can open up my terminal here, and let me just zoom in here. So Parrot OS comes with NeoVim, which I also don't like, but again, that's a personal preference. So I can modify the lightdm configuration file, which is under etc lightdm, I believe. And then lightdm.conf. All right, so I'll hit enter, and the default password is Tor. And right, so this is the NeoVim config, which I'll get to in a few seconds. So I can get rid of the auto login feature, which I believe can be customized somewhere here. There's a lot of occurrences. There we are. So if you're not familiar with the auto login feature, when you're using the virtual image, whenever you immediately import the OVF file or the OVA file and you start up the virtual machine, it will automatically log you into the virtual machine. I don't like that. I like, setting up my own user account password and having to log in manually, right? So I can essentially just disable that by commenting that or both of these lines here, and of course write and quit, and that's pretty much done. The next thing, of course, is to change my password. So I can say password here. My current password is Tor. My new password is the following. All right, so I've changed the password. That's done. One more thing that I don't like with the default VM configuration is the fact that the default user is called a user. I mean, at least on Kali, it makes sense. Just call it Parrot, man. Just call the default user Parrot. But I understand why they're doing this. And that's really my only gripes with the default configuration, apart from one more, which is the actual title bar buttons, which, again, you can easily customize. Let's see if I remember. That should be under Windows. And the position, I like it on the right. So that's fine. The default Parrot terminal is fine. Probably get rid of the transparency because I really want to see what I'm doing here. So solid color, there we are. So that's the other thing that I don't like. And that's pretty much it, right? I really don't have any gripes with the default, configuration. I love the Mate desktop environment. I know that Parrot OS also has a KDE version, but Mate is fantastic. It really reminds me of my old days with Ubuntu and the GNOME 2 desktop environment. It's really reminiscent of that, and I absolutely love the Parrot OS, desktop environment, which is Mate. I have no issues with it. The resource consumption is fairly low, especially compared to Kali Linux, which a lot of people have compared or complained about. So, if I open up HTOP, you can see it's about 645 megabytes. That's fantastic. I really like that. So, that's why I have installed Parrot OS on multiple laptops for engagements multiple times. And I've had no issues with that. It just came down to the fact that I was having a lot of issues with packages, dependencies, and, just really my own personal issues. And of course, let me just move this here. Really don't like the default placement of that. There we are. That's much neater. Probably also change the desktop environment, or rather the desktop wallpaper, not the desktop environment. So let's go for something somber. Maybe this one. Nah, that's too much stuff going on in the background. I like something just plain. Maybe, yeah, I'll just use this one. This is the default one that I like. And yeah, so again, no complaints about the look and feel. You can easily customize this. So, I typically would also like to go into look and feel, and under appearance, I'll probably customize the theme here. And let me see, the window border, that's fine. Probably change it to something. The ice theme is pretty nice. I like that. The default icons, or the icons for the folders are fine, and I'll change the actual pointer to add whiter, and that's fine, or the Mate black. So just keep things nice and simple. As I said, you can pretty much install whatever themes you like, and of course I like the fact that they've also added a Windows 10 dark theme. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so it actually mirrors it relatively accurately. As you can see right over here, the required icon theme is not installed. So I guess we'll need to install the icon theme manually. But let me just switch back to my default. So I like Icy Dark. That's very nice. All right, so we can, let me just customize that theme there. And I'll change that to add whiter. And the controls, we can use Icy Dark, or maybe I like the Windows 10 one. That was pretty good. Let's see how that looks. There we are. Yeah, that's starting to take shape. I really like a simple black minimalistic theme. And yeah, okay, so again, fairly easy to configure, in regards to what I like. So I don't have any gripes there. No issues on that end, right? So let me go over what I like. So I've already covered resource consumption. It really is fantastic. It consumes far less resources, which, means you can install it, directly onto a drive. And, you can use the drive wherever you want, or, switch between computers or even older systems. No issues there. The second thing that I like is the updated repositories, or rather the actual packages within the Parrot OS repositories, because when I used Parrot OS 3 years ago, there really weren't, some of the most important packages that I would typically need for a penetration test, which means I either had to install them manually through the GitHub repository, or I had to utilize the Pentester Framework to get them installed, or to automate the installation of the tools that I require. So what I'll do, let me just update my repositories here. So sudo apt-get update, and provide my password there. And again, no issues with the repositories and the speed of the repositories, or the actual the repository mirrors, and you can customize that based on your own location. So nothing wrong there. So again, as I said previously, and this is 3 years ago, take that into consideration. One of the issues was I couldn't install seclists, which was available on Kali Linux as a package. It should be available now. The last time I used it, it was. So sudo apt-get install seclists. Yeah, it does exist. The other tool that wasn't available was crackmap exec, which is very, very helpful for pen tests. So you can see it actually exists. So I'll get that installed. And yeah, so there are, really a lot of packages within the Parrot OS repositories, and I really like that. It's very it almost is the same type of repositories as Kali Linux in regards to the packages that they have available, right? So I'm just going to wait for this to complete installing, or I can just open up a new tab here. There we are. Okay, so I really like that. I like the fact that I can install word lists, really easily without heading over to the GitHub repository, etc. And just to show you that I've actually documented this in some way or form, I'll just navigate to my GitHub repository where I'd actually created a shell script to install some of these files that are required. So GitHub, if I can type GitHub correctly. So github.com, Alexis Ahmed, there we are. And I have a .files repository. It should be under, there we are, .files. I actually made it public quite a few days ago, so you can check it out. It has my i3 desktop and laptop configs, my Vim configuration, my default Vim configuration, my Z shell configuration, and this is the script here. So this is a simple bash script that I created to essentially go through the process of, getting rid of things that I didn't like and, just installing what I required. And you can see, let me see if I can find that here, that in terms of installing seclists, I had to add the manual, wget command to download it directly from the repositories. So, you can actually see that I'm not making this up. That package didn't exist, or it had a lot of issues, right? And yeah, so I essentially used this script to set it up and to also utilize my Z shell configuration, because I really don't like using bash anymore after I've used OMyZSH. That's pretty much all that I use. And yeah, I also like getting rid of NeoVim and, installing standard Vim. So, probably need to get rid of that there. So let's test and see whether crackmap exec is actually working. Yeah, all right, so that's working out perfectly. All right, fantastic. Okay, so sudo apt-get remove NeoVim. Right, I really don't like NeoVim. That's my own personal preference. Don't hate on me, man. Don't hate on me at all. All right, so install Vim. There we are. And I then like customizing my my Vim configuration file just so that it displays really what's important to me. I don't like any, I don't utilize any plugins, at least on my pen testing distributions. On my own development distribution where I'm working with code, then I like customizing it a little bit more. So Vim RC, and you can see that I'll get rid of some of these. I don't like the tab stop option. There we are. File type, yeah, that's fine. Get rid of the ruler, and we can leave file type as on. And what I'll do here is I'll say set number. So we have line numbers. Right, so write and quit, and then again Vim, and we can then open up the same file again just to see whether the changes have been applied. Vim RC, there we are. Nice and simple, nothing complicated. Syntax highlighting, file type is displayed, and then of course it just adds line numbers, which is pretty much all that I need. All right, so again, the default setup and configuration is perfectly fine, and I was really going over what I like, and I've covered the repositories. And the other thing that I like is the fact that they've started creating, and I know they've been doing this for a while, they've started creating, different versions of Parrot with different desktop environments like KDE. I haven't tried KDE before because when I'm, performing an engagement, I like Mate or the simplest desktop environment possible. That could be XFCE or Mate, or maybe even the Ubuntu desktop environment. That's perfectly fine. All right. Now, the other thing that I like about Parrot, and, this is in comparison with Kali, and I know that they've had this for quite a while, is the fact that it has the Windows resources folder, which contains a list of helpful scripts and utilities for Windows post-exploitation and, credential dumping or, hash extraction. So we have Netcat, PowerCat, PowerSploit. We also have the Windows credentials editor. The only thing that I don't like is that Mimikatz is stored under user share. And there we are. We have the Mimikatz directory here. Let me type that in correctly. There we are, Mimikatz. And then you have your Win32 and x64 binaries, right? So that's really just my own personal preference. As for the word list, the default word list, it has pretty much the same word list that you would have on Kali. You have your Rocky word list here. And then you have the rest, the Metasploit word lists, as well as, some of the other ones. So Derb, Derbuster, Fast Track, etc. So no issues with that. As I said, you can pretty much install all the tools you need from the repositories, and I haven't had any issues with it. I've been using Parrot OS on my laptop for about 5 days now. No issues with it. I've been doing a few challenges on Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, a few engagements very briefly, so no issues there. And then, of course, there are a few other tools that, regardless of whether or not they exist on both Kali or Parrot, I have to install manually, primarily because getting them set up is quite a headache. But we'll get to that when we get there. All right, so so I really like that. I like the fact that it has, the important tools when it comes down to a pen test. It's very fast, very snappy, nothing wrong there. And of course, because it's running Debian, I can install custom kernel. I typically like installing the Xanmod kernel. So let me search for it here, Xanmod. There we are, that's the Xanmod kernel there. And this is a really cool kernel. It's really designed for ultra low latency enthusiasts, as it says here. The reason why I like it is because it really speeds things up, actually to a point where you can actually, pick it out or see that this was marginally faster than the standard kernel. But do be aware of utilizing the Xanmod kernel, and I would recommend running or installing the stable version. You can see they have an LTS version, an Edge version, and of course real time, right? It really is fantastic if you are gaming on Linux or if you're streaming on Linux. Really fantastic performance, and as you can see right over here, built to provide a stable, responsive, and smooth desktop experience, which it certainly does. So again, my customizations will essentially revolve around getting my toolkit set up. And then, of course, one of the final things that I would like to do is just change the theme around. I typically like a dark minimalist theme, nothing too complex, and maybe the wallpaper, that's pretty much it. And then, of course, if I need any other tools, then I can get those installed manually or just use the Pentester Framework. So let me search for that here. I think I've made a video on this before. It really is a fantastic framework for installing, pen testing tools on Linux distributions. You can install it on Ubuntu, any stock or vanilla Linux distribution. So you can see right over here, the Pentester Framework. The Pentester Framework is a Python script designed for Debian, Ubuntu, Arch Linux-based distributions to create a similar and familiar distribution for pen testing. A fantastic tool. It really has quite a lot of tools there that you typically will not find in the repositories, like Zenmap, for example, which you have to install manually. But again, not a lot of people use Zenmap anymore. That's the old stuff. Right. So again, if you want to check out this particular shell script, do check it out. You can also customize it based on your own requirements. This is just really my own personal dot files or conf files that I typically like creating, to customize my environment. And so that is really what I like about Parrot OS. And as I said, I really have no gripes with it. The only reason I switched was because I had an issue that really, to be honest, annoyed me, which is why I switched. And as I said, I really don't like distro hopping anymore. I've been using Linux for more than 10 years now, and I was an avid distro hopper. I've used, I think I'm going to be, quite accurate here. I've used probably more than 100 to 150 distributions, and some of them are not even available anymore. I've used Ubuntu, Debian, OpenSUSE, Arch Linux, Black Arch, Manjaro, Arco Linux, Backbox Linux. If you guys remember that, Backtrack. I've used Kali Linux since Backtrack. I've used, there's just plenty, MX Linux, Endeavor, some of the new ones, Pop OS. I've literally tried them all. So really, at this point in time, I just like customizing a vanilla distribution, customizing it to my requirements, taking a snapshot so that I can always revert back. And then, of course, I just get on with it, and hopefully it works. If it does work, like with my Kali VM, I don't switch. I don't really do anything. I update the packages maybe every 4 months, something like that. I only update a package if there is an issue with it, and on Kali, I haven't had any issues at all. But as I said, I'm not really comparing Kali and Parrot here. They're two different distributions that have been designed with different philosophies, if you will, but their purpose is the same. They're there for penetration testers, right, and security researchers. So again, in terms of what I don't like now, so this, again, is very opinionated. Take this with a grain of salt. Don't hate on me. If there are any Parrot OS fanboys, I do apologize in advance. One thing I don't like is the fact that it's bloated. It really is bloated beyond belief. All right, let's start off with privacy. Anon surf, that's fine. I don't really need it because I primarily use proxy chains for everything. In terms of cryptography, all right, here we have an issue. I understand why all of these are there, but I don't need them, man. I really haven't used them ever during a penetration test. Now, they might be useful for guys in the blue team. I can totally understand that, but they should just create a distribution for forensics. That would make much more sense. Secondly, Office. Why do I need the LibreOffice package? I don't know. Never used it. If I'm opening any documents, especially if I'm working in a VM, I pretty much have my notes on the side in OneNote or in Cherry Tree. I don't need that there. And again, I'm rarely interacting or interfacing with documents, right? Okay, Internet, Electrum, Bitcoin wallet. I don't know why that's there. Another wallet there. Kingfisher, okay, that's fine. Onion circuits, that's fine. Qubit torrent, again, do I really need it on a pen testing distribution? By the way, this is not Parrot OS Home, where I could accept that they've installed packages that one would typically use if they were security oriented. But this is the security version, right? So in terms of graphics, an image viewer is pretty much all you need. I don't know why they installed GIMP. And LibreOffice is again coming up there. Sound and video, Cheese, Brasero. It also has, it has the screen recorder. That's fine. The only thing you need is VLC or MPV. Why do you need webcam software there? Don't know. Games, export. I guess that's fine. Maybe during a pen test you need to start playing chess. I don't know. Pen testing tools, as I said, it has quite a few. Pretty much, you can actually directly compare it to Kali in regards to the amount of tools it has. Programming, Genie, that's fine. VS Codium, that's going a bit too far. Just provide us with a simple text editor, man. That's all you need. Genie is, I've been using Genie for a very long time. System tools, BleachBit is installed by default. That's fine. DV disaster. Error protection for CD and DVD media. Interesting. Maybe you actually need to start working on DVDs during a pen test. Again, I know I'm sounding a bit sarcastic here, but some of this stuff really perplexes me. And by the way, this does take up a lot of space. Try and uninstall the actual LibreOffice package and just see how much space that is. Does it have the Synaptic package manager? Not really sure. That's something that I also like installing because it is quite helpful in certain instances, especially on a Debian distribution. Right, so, system services, this has the OpenVAS Greenborn, service scripts that allow you to start and stop, etc. That's very helpful. I like that. SSH, you can, it has the scripts already there for you, so you can immediately just restart services using these pre-built menu items here, which is great. I like that. That's really helpful in certain situations. Yeah, nothing else there. As I said, there's just a lot of bloat here that you really don't need in regards to a penetration testing distribution, right? The other issue I have, and this is another personal preference, and it comes down to the actual virtual image, is that the developers have made assumptions on the packages people need or are going to be using based on their own personal preferences, right? So I'll give you an example of this. if you've ever heard of a distribution called Arco Linux, that really is the way to actually create a distribution, right? Arco Linux essentially allows you to customize what you want installed. Now, you can have options for them to install, so you can provide them with the ability to install text editors, media players, all of that good stuff during the installation, right? And of course, I know in this case we're talking about a virtual machine, but just slim it down, man. Just take it down. Take away all of the bloat. We don't need this stuff, man. And if we do, we'll install it ourselves. I mean, even if you download a malicious Windows Microsoft Word document, you can't execute the macros with LibreOffice, man. I don't know why that even exists. I really don't. I honestly don't. And of course, if we're interacting with databases, man, there are multiple, there are tons of other packages that can actually be used there. So my recommendations are to Parrot OS or the development team, replace the Office package with some mobile forensics or reverse engineering tools. How about that? Maybe include Ghidra or some debuggers or anything like that. That'll be pretty interesting, you know. And of course, I know that they have reverse engineering tools here. You can see in terms of the debugger, they have the essentials. They have the GNU debugger or GDB decompilers, they actually have dex2jar. My apologies, guys. My apologies. And of course, disassembler, you have the Smalley disassembler. So they do actually have some Android or mobile reverse engineering tools. But yeah, just start including tools that are really useful or helpful. That's really my only suggestion. And my only issue with Parrot OS is just the bloat. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to continue using it in parallel with Kali and the content creation on YouTube for maybe about a month. And if I have any issues, I'll report them to you guys. But as I said, I just wanted to explain that because I get a lot of questions regarding this so-called rivalry, between Kali and Parrot. There really isn't a rivalry. It just comes down to personal preference. Don't use distributions that I'm using. Just use what works for you. Customize it. Learn about Linux. Make it your own. And maybe you can even roll your own distribution. You can install the tools yourself with the Pentester Framework. Just do what works for you. My opinions are just on this particular topic. I really like Kali and I also like Parrot OS. If you were to ask me point blank, if I was to perform a pen test in 5 minutes, what laptop I would pick Kali. That's my own personal preference. I've used Kali since Backtrack, so maybe I have a personal connection with it. But I just feel comfortable running Kali. That's my own personal preference. I'm not recommending that to any of you guys. Use what works for you. This is not a criticism of Parrot OS. This is a personal opinion or a collection of personal opinions. And of course, I also have opinions about Kali, but we'll not get into that right now. The video was focused on Parrot OS. All right, so that's really all that I wanted to discuss in this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If the Parrot OS fanboys are coming after me, then be polite about it. You can offer constructive criticism, but this is my own personal experience, right? So yeah, definitely let me know what you think in the comment section. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, then leave a dislike, even though YouTube has disabled the dislike counter. So I don't know what good that is, but hey, that's a story for another day. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. A huge thank you to all of our Patreons. Your support is greatly appreciated, and this is a formal thank you. So thank you Shamir Douglas, Ryan Carr, Sandor, Michael Busby, Sid Saab, Doozy, Tafim Bari, Dustin Umpress, and Michael Hubbard. Your support is greatly appreciated, and you keep us making even more high quality content for you guys. So thank you.